Hello and thanks for joining us here on France 24 for Reporters. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. In this edition, we're taking you to the world's largest refugee settlement, which is in eastern Kenya's Garissa County, just a short distance from the Somali border. The Dadaab camp was first set up to house people fleeing the civil war in Somalia, and now, a quarter of a century later, it is, according to some estimates, home to hundreds of thousands of people. But the camp's future hangs in the balance. The Kenyan authorities have repeatedly threatened to close Dadaab, citing security concerns and the fact, they say, that the camp has been infiltrated by militant groups. So what will that mean for the residents of the camp, the majority of whom are under 18 years of age and who've never known anything of the world beyond the camp's fences? Well, journalists Guiheux and Maïa Boyé take us now inside Dadaab to meet some of them.
They grew up amid dust and dirt. Thousands of children brought up on these arid streets. Most of them know nothing else but their makeshift shelter. Some 25 years ago, their parents fled the conflict in Somalia and found themselves in Dadaab. But what does it mean to grow up in the biggest refugee camp in the world? Here's the story of three of those children.
My name is Sagaro. I was born in this camp 19 years ago. At the age of 12, I had to leave school to start my own business to feed my family. My goal is to become a businessman.
A businessman in a refugee camp is not as surreal as it sounds. Dadaab is also a commercial hub, the country's third city with 280,000 inhabitants. But residents are forbidden to leave without a permit.
My name is Abdirizak. I started studying at 16 years old when I arrived in Dadaab. Now I'm 25 years old. My strongest wish is to go to university in Canada. Until I get that scholarship, I teach chemistry in my former school, Boyé Secondary School.
Many share Abdirizak's dream. For now, he will remain in school until he is accepted into a university in Kenya or abroad.
My name is Rahma Hussein. I first came to Dadaab when I was 12 years old. I did not know how to read and write. Now, I'm 90 years old and I want to be a chemical engineer. 1 year ago, I had to go back to Somalia, but I ran away by road to come back to Dadaab to learn.
Physics students, where are you?
It's exam day at Rahma's school. These students are studying away from the sun's beating rays. Some risk their lives to come to Dadaab to receive free education from the NGOs. At home in Somalia, school is for the elite. Today, Rahma's preparing for a religious studies test, and she's up against it. Every grade counts, as she needs a scholarship to study abroad. Education is her only way out.
If we don't learn, we will be stay at home, getting kids. If you are a woman and you have a kids, and the man who marries you is not maybe responsible, what will you do? Will you go and beg? No. If you get education, you can help your family, you can help your kids, and also you can help your community at the same time.
Learning, albeit free, is a privilege. Less than 1 in 2 children is enrolled in school here. The poorest among them have to work. They're all spread across 5 camps. The most recent and the most perilous is Guiheux. The residents scrape by to eat and drink and find a place to sleep. Not much else matters.
These are my children. They don't go to school because I can't buy them books. So they sit there all day doing nothing, playing around the house.
The shelters are often damaged and they barely stand upright.
This is where I sleep with my children. We use this as a shield against the sun in the day. My wife and child are inside it. Look at the house where we live. There is no roof. The tarpaulin has lots of holes inside it.
Abdikadir is one of the latest arrivals, and it's UN food rations that feed his family.
They only give us 3 kilos for the month to feed the whole family. 3 kilos. Can you imagine? That is not enough. Also, the children don't really eat the corn much. But we will not let them die of hunger. The only thing you can do is cook it the best way you can and then force them to eat it.
In Cambios, high schools are in short supply. Education for most children stops after primary school. Entrance exams are often required, and that is an obstacle for many. Only 1 in 5 gains access to further education. Sagaro is among those that were left behind. 6 years ago, he had to leave school and make ends meet.
I couldn't go to junior high school because I missed the exam at the end of primary school. So I became an ice cream seller. With the money I earned, I bought a video game stand. That's how I feed my family now. I work all day long, and when I have a little bit of money left over, that's for me.
Sagaro can't even turn a blind eye to 10 cents.
Hey, what are you doing? You think you're going to play another round without paying?
Surrounded by his young clients, he briefly escapes from the harsh realities of the camp, dreaming of happier days ahead.
I must succeed and become rich. I want to become a big businessman. But for now, I don't have a lot of money, so I will continue to work hard until I do.
There is money to be made in this refugee camp. A parallel economy has developed over the years. Even UN rice bags are resold. The wealthiest residents have restaurants and hotels. Their only restriction is leaving the camp. But Dadaab has become too small for Sagaro, and its streets too cramped.
I was born here, in this very neighborhood. I've known everyone here from a very young age. And this here is my house.
Sagaro and his family are in pursuit of the American dream. They applied for asylum 5 years ago.
I want to go and live in another country. We're locked up here. We don't have the right to go out, and if we try, the police can arrest us, as we have no authorization.
If his asylum application to the US fails, then Europe is his plan B, his parents' worst nightmare.
I don't want Sagaro to take the road and illegally cross Libya like those people in the boats. It's too dangerous. I tell him all the time that he shouldn't do it. I think it's too soon. We should wait for UN assistance. He should wait until our asylum application is accepted. That way, he won't have to take this dangerous road.
The nucleus of the atom and the outermost energy level is occupied by electrons.
As for Abdirizak, he thought his ticket out of Dadaab was close at hand. He believed in the message imprinted above his school door. Enter to learn, leave to lead.
The number of electrons will increase down the group. The number of energy levels will increase because of the increase.
But 2 years after his graduation, and he's still there. No longer a student, but teaching chemistry at his former high school. His friends secured scholarships and are living the Canadian dream. They were the lucky 15 out of 1,000 candidates. Very few are offered the tantalizing opportunity of escape.
I can read. The student was disciplined with above average academic ability. I was number 3. So number 1 went to Canada. Number 2 also went to Canada. So I see them, their pictures, the beautiful images of the university, the ancient beach everything, how the town looks like. So it's just like I'm in halfway Canada. I'm mentally in Canada, but physically in Africa. So when I see them, it's just like I become, I lost everything.
Despite the knockbacks, Abdirizak holds on to hope. He's on a waiting list to enroll at a university in Kenya, but time isn't on his side. Refugees have flocked to UN offices here. They may have to go back to Somalia as their camp faces closure. An influx of undesired migrants, so much so that the Kenyan government is offering $400 to those that agree to leave. That's 8 times the salary of Abdirizak, a sum difficult to refuse by his adoptive mother, even if her son could go to university instead of correcting papers. She's already waited too long.
I always supported him to go to Canada, but he wasn't able to. And now it's making him sick. He thinks about it all the time. At night, I hear him speaking to himself. Sometimes he stays up several nights at a time. And I'm starting to get depressed here.
I say to my mum, wait just one more month. There won't be any problems. They won't force us to go back. We've been in this camp since 2008. We've already been very patient. Let's not drop the ball so close to the goal.
After the $400 is spent, many of these volunteers live to regret their decision, like Rahma, who'd followed her parents with the promise of finishing her studies. But on the other side of the border, school proved to be too expensive.
My father provided for me a marriage because the rate of rape was very high in the village. Then in the community, if girl is being raped, it will not be good. So he preferred for me to get married. He brought me a man and he told you, I want to marry you off. But I told the father that I'm not gonna to marry until I see my achievement and just finish my education.
Rahma ran away. She covered some 700 kilometers alone by bus and on foot. All this to return to Dadaab. Today she tries to convince other refugees not to leave.
Hello, my name is Rahma Hussein Noor. I'm just a refugee, like you.
She speaks of her own experiences.
There's no work there, no school. Listen to me, I know a lot of mothers will cry because their children will be recruited by jihadists. There's nothing else there.
We want to return to the land of our ancestors. They want us to leave and we're ready. We want the UN to help us get there. To go home even if our country is burning.
Please, there's nothing there. Stay here for your children so they can go to school.
For many, the decision is already made. They gather the final belongings. In 2016, 30,000 refugees went back. Some had never previously set foot in Somalia. But according to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, this is their country, an unfamiliar land that they will have to discover, to make a life in, or in some cases, flee once again.
Well, we're joined now by the author of that report, Guiheux. Welcome back to Paris, Michael.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about filming inside Dadaab. We understand that it's a very tense security situation inside the camp. Did you ever feel threatened at any stage during your visit there, especially given the fact that you had with you filming equipment?
You don't see Al-Shabaab, you don't feel exactly the fear, but the fact is it is dangerous. It's just 100 kilometers away from Somalia borders, so Al-Shabaab is close. For example, 2 weeks before we came, there were an attack on a police station at 20 kilometers away from the camp. For example, we have the obligation to go with 4 policemen, and we have to leave the camp at 3 p.m. Even the NGO's agents, they have to work only the morning, and then the rest of the time they live in a high security camp 15 kilometers away from the camp.
Okay, so a tense situation, as you say. And it's a huge camp, enormous, home to hundreds of thousands of people. It's been around for 25 years. What were your observations about the sort of physical aspect of the camp? What struck you the most?
It's so huge that in some places, like the market we've seen in the report, you just forget that you're in a refugee camp. There is restaurant, there are hotels. So it looks like a normal city. But it's true just for one part of the camp, because the newest parts, which are the poorest people, the living conditions are terrible, malnutrition. Sometimes there is just 1 hour of water distribution in a day. And then it was quite shocking, because there is really two camps in Dadaab, two reality in this camp.
Okay, so a camp with sort of two halves to it. Yeah. And a place that has been cited repeatedly by the Kenyan authorities as being a problem, a security problem. So if the camp is shut, what happens then to the people who've been living there, some of them for their entire lives?
Yeah, the government tried to get them back to Somalia, but the fact is they accept, some accept because of the money. They offer $400 per member of the family, so it's huge. But when they come to Somalia, they discover a country with famine. They discover a country with a lot of Al-Shabaab militants. So it's really, really dangerous.
Well, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us, journalist Guiheux. Thank you so much. And thank you to you for watching this edition of Reporters. See you again soon here on France 24.